6 months ago, give or take, the Wall Street Journal ran a story that this was an investigation. This is a devastating moment professionally for Terry, linked to this investigation during his final year of a contract. So I reached out to the prosecutors in Brooklyn. I said, hey, I'm here. I represent him. Let me know when you want to talk. Ended up asking him, is he a target of the investigation? And, part of me kind of knew he might be because he's a trophy, because he's a well-known name. But they said, no, he's a subject. That was the last communication I had yesterday morning. I got to tell you, process can tell you something about substance. 6 a.m. they tell me we're arresting him in Orlando right now. First communication in months. That's a bad sign. There is no reason to treat him differently that way.
Yeah, Jim, you're a lawyer. An internal investigation by a private organization like the NBA is very different from a criminal organization by the government, which has subpoena power, can pull in witnesses, can cut deals with other people in exchange for their testimony. Just because Terry was cleared by the NBA doesn't mean that the government won't come to a different conclusion.
No, that's true, but don't give it short shrift either. This was a very highly professional investigation that involved the FBI as well, is my understanding. And it was led by an official from the NBA who basically was a Southern District of New York prosecutor for a long time before she came there. So they interviewed Terry twice. They took his phone. They downloaded every text. They interviewed various witnesses. This was not some kind of lighthearted, quick touch.
Right.
This was a pretty investigation. But Liz, to your point about getting cooperators, that's really my biggest concern here, is that there are some monstrous people on this case, not necessarily the 31 case that you just talked about, but the people involved in this case involve a guy who has a record for stabbing people, who has been manipulating athletes like Jonte Porter. I mean, there's some pretty monstrous guys, and if they're in bed with them for cooperators, that's like saying Pigpen is clean. I mean, these guys, dirty as it gets. So if that's their case, we're gonna have a good fight.
You bring up Jonte Porter. He's also a former NBA player who pled guilty last year to these sorts of prop bets where he would tip off people, bet on me having a bad night, and then mysteriously fall ill during the game. He pled guilty twice. His sentencing has been postponed. He's now due to be sentenced in early December. Are you at all concerned that he is testifying against Terry?
He won't hurt Terry. There's nothing he can say about Terry. I mean, Jonte Porter was kind of a bench player for Toronto. Terry, was sitting on a $100 million contract as well as endorsement contracts. Terry was in a very good place financially. He doesn't know who Jonte Porter is, basically, and he certainly doesn't have any worries that Porter is going to deliver him on a platter to these prosecutors, despite the incentive for all these guys to do that.
So you're saying categorically Terry Rozier never, ever told somebody, I'm going to go out sick, or I'm going to stop mid-game and say I have an ankle injury. Tonight would be a good night to bet on me having lower than normal performance stats.
Yeah, look, the last part's the key, right? If you're saying he's part of a conspiracy, he's got to be somebody who is trying to facilitate these bets against him performing well. That never happened. This is a guy who got to the end of the season with the Hornets banged up. He's a stoic guy. He doesn't whine, but he was banged up. He had a hurt foot. He got treatment for it in the days that followed this game that matters against the Pelicans. And the reality is, there's a lot of people that are in a position to know that he was banged up. His own agent was telling the coaches, hey, sit him out, man. You're eliminated from the playoffs. He's hurt. Let him rest. So this was not some sort of like classified document moment. But again, whether or not he confided in some people or let it out that he was hurt, it doesn't matter. That's not the same as conspiring. And so I'm not seeing smoking gun evidence in the indictment, but we got a lot to look at. We have to look at discovery. We have to see if the government is just fishing for a trophy or if they think they have something better. But everything I see, everything I anticipated in terms of this indictment is kind of bland when it comes to Terry. Pretty minuscule when it comes to Terry compared to everybody else.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.